Hello, I'm back again at last. I have not fallen off the edge of the planet. Um, it's just been, you know, life really gets in the way. Busy, 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 doing things, and before you know it, it's like April next week, and I've not recorded a blog since January. Oops. Um. Anyway, yeah. So I'm going to talk about the present and my psychological approach to um, now and how I have the outlook that I have and why I have the outlook I have. But I am winging it. I'm not going to lie about it. I am winging it and I'm just going to talk, and I really hope I'm not going to ramble or bore you to death or anything else. I want to um, help you to realise that this part, we're talking about psychological attitudes and what have you. And I thought the easiest way to split it is past, present, and future. Um, but there's kind of a lot more past, which I am lumping into present because my um, psychological outlook hasn't really changed. It's just kind of intensified over the last, blimey, 10 years or so, I suppose. That's what I'm classing as present. Um, Simply because, my life changed a lot. I ended up being, single mum looking after two kids on my own. And so we moved to a new house because I couldn't stay in the old marital home. Um, and thankfully, we've been here, it'll be 14 years this year. Um, so, kind of present is as long as we've been in this house, I suppose. Um, Although the early days, I was still in that place of, well, this is my attitude when I'm at home. My symptoms get me down. I get embarrassed by them. Um, and it was, yeah, kind of one persona for going out and, you know, you've got your psychological armour on and you won't let life touch you. But then when you're indoors and behind closed doors, you're kind of are still at odds with yourself, really. I can't say that in the early years here I was happy in my own skin um, because I wasn't. I was still mad as hell that MS was here to stay and was forming such a big part of my life. Um, yeah, and I was bloody angry about it. Um, and what I tended to do, because anger was the easiest emotion for me to express, I would then try and channel that anger into something positive. Um, yeah, I'm a bit like the old duck. It's all graceful and gliding on top, and it's mad paddling like hell underneath. Um, and I think that did very much happen. Um, I was staying on top of it. Um, my symptoms were still pretty stable, and I would say they're still fairly stable, even though I have progressed so much in the last 10 years. Um, it's still a very gradual decline, and so I'm not, thank God, one of those people who is having to deal with a myriad of new symptoms and things happening all the time. I pretty much know what I'm gonna wake up to every morning, and I've been saying that to a lot of people for a long time, because that kind of stability for me is something I have at times clung on to and thought, thank God I haven't got relapsing remitting. Thank God I haven't got, all my mobility and everything else taken away from me so many times a year or week or month or whatever. Because, like anything, you just get used to your own particular flavour of problem, challenge, whatever you want to call it. And consequently, you tailor your own coping mechanisms to those problems. And I've always, said, well, I think that having a steady, slow progression is easier to cope with than the, oh, I'm fine, no, I'm not, yes, I'm fine, no, I'm not, of remitting, relapsing MS, where everything's coming and going all the time. But, if boot was on the other foot, I might be sitting there saying, oh no, well, I haven't got too much disability, unless I'm in a relapse kind of thing. But I don't know. I'm waffling. I'm sorry. Right, so yes, it's supposed to be talking about psychological aspects. It's been very much a case of, okay, so this is what I have, this is how I deal with it. When I'm out and about, I've got my armour on, I'm upbeat, I'm positive, very glass half full, and just busy being a mum, and keeping all those balls in the air, But at home, you have episodes where you, I don't know, drop something, have toiletry accident, and you kind of, it just strips another piece away from you, and it's very hard to come back from at times. And I have found it hard to come back from things. I spent a long time sort of saying to people, I can deal with any symptoms this monster wants to throw at me, but when it comes to bladder and bowels, I lose my sense of humour. It's not funny, but in the last 5 years or so, bladder particularly, but bowels slightly, have ended up being a very large factor in my life. And I don't like it, and I'm not happy about it, but guess what? I have learned to accept it. And this is one of the parts of my coping mechanism now. I invented this very nice, simple flowchart diagram for myself, for anybody who used to do computer studies back in the day, before they called it IT. Okay, here's your little flowchart. There is a situation that I don't like, whatever it might be, whether it's a symptom causing me a problem, or grief from the neighbours, or whatever it is. Right, there's a situation I don't like. I have two prongs on my flowchart that say, can you change it, yes or no? If I can change it, and the answer is yes, then change it. Do whatever you need to do to change that situation to make it more acceptable to you, or to eradicate it, or turn it on its head, or get someone else to deal with it. Whatever needs to be done to give you a solution to that challenge. If you can't change it, if it's something that's either out of your control or doesn't actually involve you directly, but it's not something that you're happy with indirectly, whatever. If you can't change it, guess what? You only have one choice. Accept it. And when I got to this kind of epiphany moment where I went, hang on a minute, can I change it? Yes, I'll change it. Can I change it? No, I'll accept it. Now, the accepting might be an easy thing to do. You might just be able to go to yourself, no, okay, that's all right. I can make my peace with that. Or it might be something that's going to take you, I don't know, a lot of soul searching or counselling or, going out with your mates and, having a skinful. Whatever it is, whatever is going to help you to accept that challenging situation, that's going to be what you need to do. And I mean, there's loads of little memes and adages flying around on the net. And the one that rings true with me a lot of the time is, there are situations in life we can't change. The only thing we can change is the way we react to it. So you just have to say, right, okay, I don't like this situation. Can I change it? Yes. Great. Go and change it. Do whatever it takes. And have that situation become more palatable to you. Can I change it? No, I can't. There's nothing I can do about it. It's either, a situation that is immovable by anybody, or it's something that is just way out of your control. Then you kind of go, right, okay, make my peace with it and accept it. Accepting things is not always easy. I will be the first to admit that. For me, knowing that holding on to something negative is such a damaging thing to do to myself that it works as a good motivator, actually. If I know that there is a situation that's out of my control, there's nothing I can do to change it. But if I don't accept it, I'm going to be, that remote control car that can't turn around and just keeps slamming into the wall. And you just think, why would I do that to myself? Because if I do that to myself, I will end up highly stressed. And if I end up highly stressed, guess what? My MS symptoms will get worse. And then we're in a downward spiral, because when your MS symptoms get worse, you are more prone to depression and to feeling negatively. And then guess what? Your MS symptoms will get worse. So you just keep repeating the same thing over and over again. And you've got to value yourself more than that. You've got to say, okay, this situation is not healthy. It's not good for me. It's, a toxic situation, if you like. I can't do anything to change it. However, I can compartmentalise it, which is another thing that I'll get onto in a minute, and just accept it and just go, okay, nothing I can do about this. Just go with it. That way I won't get stressed about it. That way I won't impact my MS. Not my MS, the MS. Yeah, so that's a big one. And since I started with that theory, which was quite a few years ago, probably about 8 years ago. I've been working on it, every time I come up against a challenge of whatever description. And I'm getting better at it all the time, and I'm getting quicker at it now. So I can, throw whatever you like at me. I will either change it so that I can work with it, or if I can't change it for whatever reason, I will accept it. And I will find a way of dealing with whatever it is in a way that is going to rest easy with me. So yeah, that is the accepting change kind of mantra. I mentioned you see, I can't even talk today. Compartmentalizing things. Again, I've been quite good at this from quite early on, simply because we're all multifaceted beings. We all have different sides of our personality, and if you just think about your family and your friends and the people you have contact with regularly, and you don't present the same, I don't present the same Jay to everybody. Very similar ones, because I don't believe in bullshit, but mainly because who can put that much energy in fabricating a persona, So I'm very WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. But I do compartmentalise things. So, for example, when I was working, I would have a fantastic day at work, and then come home and have a good evening or whatever. Yeah, that's all lovely. You go to work and you have a really crap day for whatever reason. You get home. If you do not compartmentalise that day at work that was crap, you are going to come home and feel crap, and maybe shout at the kids, or kick the cat or whatever. No, that's not true. But you know what I mean. If you have had a bad day at work, leave it at work. Leave it in the boot of the car. Do not bring it indoors to your home, your haven, your little safe zone where you're supposed to be able to just kick back and chill out and not be stressed by, whatever Mr. So and so at work said to you. And it became a very useful thing for me quite early on in my adult life, that I realised actually there's no point letting what happened in A situation affect B situation. And I think it just makes sense. Well, it makes sense to me. I hope it makes sense. And it means that we can just say, right, okay, that was shit. Put it in a box. Put a lid on the box. Push it into a corner of your brain. If we need to revisit it, then we'll revisit it. But right now, it's quite happy. It's being ignored. That's cool. That means I can get on with having a glass of wine and enjoying whatever, telly or dominoes or jigsaw or going on the internet and stuff like that. Because life is too short to let the shit, colour the rest of your life, because you are more than that one shit situation. And I think that has been a good thing for me to take on. And as I say, I took it on quite early on, and so I've not had to think about it too much. Can I have a drink? It is only water, not vodka or gin or anything else interesting. Anyway, um, something that I've only actually actively been doing for about 2.5 years, 3 years maybe, but something I've been aware of for a very long time is meditation, mindful meditation. That's the buzz phrase at the moment, mindfulness. I've been doing my own form of meditation on and off since my first attack in 93. More off than on until the last, let's say, 3 years or so, when I have been very proactive to try my very best to do at least 10-15 minutes of meditation every day, because it's a good time to just stop. One of my biggest problems at home, not using my grey cells as much as they'd like to be used, is just thinking and thinking and overthinking, and then overthinking a bit more and thinking again, and then let's all look at it from a different angle and wake up at 3 a.m. and think about the same thing, but from a completely different angle and viewpoint, and then we can look at it again. Oh my God, it goes on and on and on. And I have found it really useful to shut that voice up, for God's sake, because, at the very least, it drives you potty with the constant sort of, oh, what about this and what about that? Let's think about this. And at the worst, if it's negative thoughts, then it can be extremely destructive. And nobody wants that. So, yeah, meditation is very good. I've mentioned the Calm app before. It works for me. It's really good. There's loads and loads of meditation apps out there. Find what works for you. Do it in a little routine, when you find the best time to do it. Personally, I usually do it about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, because that is my tired time. That's when I have fatigue. So I just lay back in a chair, put the app on, and chill the fuck out. Just to kind of find myself again, because sometimes the morning's been a bit kind of, whoa, we're here, we're there, we're doing this, we're doing that. Time, and it's good to just stop and give your brain a rest and give it space to stretch and sigh and grow and say, okay, we're all right now, and just go with it. I'm just going to give you one other quick little gem, which I've found really useful, because I'm noticing it's sort of 25 minutes already and I don't feel like I've said anything. So right now I will tell you that this body, this sack of, what is it, bag of mostly water, I think we get it called, it's just flesh and bones and organs and nerves and stuff like that. It's not me. Me is the one who, gets the giggles when they shouldn't, and it just escalates into complete hilarity, or the one who can put together a strongly worded email to somebody to tell them exactly how to complain to their company. Um, but you know what I mean? That it's not me. I'm me. I'm the for want of a better phrase, the soul of me, my mind, my chi, my energy, the person who makes the choices. I am a completely separate entity to this body. Um, I work on the basis that this body is not mine, because there are parts of it I have absolutely no control over at all, like my bladder. No control over that. That just does whatever it likes, whenever it likes. I've been saying for a long time, I have the bladder of a petulant 2-year-old, and so guess what? Get a catheter, get an suprapubic catheter sorted. Don't have to deal with it anymore. That's a story for another time. But that is the way that I now cope with that part of my body. That is not mine. I don't know whose it is, or who's got control of it, but it sure as hell ain't me. Also, my legs, they won't do what I want them to, i.e., support me and walk. They do what I don't want them to, like spasm and kick things, or people. Um, so why would I take ownership of those? They're not me. They're not reacting to my will. Got bloody will of their own, frankly. And so I have I have disassociated from the thing that is my body, um, and I find it really freeing. Really freeing to be able to go to a doctor's or go to the hospital and say, yeah, I've got something wrong with it. Just do what you need to do, would you? Um, and it just makes it easier to separate the two and just say, right, what you see is not me. Okay? I'm not the person sat in the wheelchair, because guess what? If I happen to dream about myself or have a dream about myself, I'm not disabled. I don't have MS. So there is clearly a part of my brain that is in total denial and just says, no, that's not us. But it does make, those icky situations when you've got to be prodded and poked by biomechanics, if you like. It just makes it so much easier just to say, well, yeah, do what you need to do with it. Put it back as best you can when you're finished, because it still needs to be used by me to cart myself around. For as long as I still have the ability to communicate, I'm quite happy to stay here, you know? Because I can still express the person that is me, the essence of me, regardless of what other crap is going on with the arms not working properly, the hands not working properly, the legs not working properly. You know what I mean? It's just like, rather than kind of get tied up in knots over, oh no, oh look, oh it's cringing, it's so horrible, just to go, do you know what? This is life. This is life, and the way I deal with it is I say, this is my shell, do what you will with it, sort it out as best you can, I'll work with it as best I can. But if you want to meet me, then I'm in here. I just happen to be inside a malfunctioning, what was it Claire said? I think it was a malfunctioning prison of flesh. There you go. On that happy note, I'm going to go now. Yeah, thank you for listening. Hope it makes sense to somebody somewhere. Speak to you soon. Bye bye.